يكايا يخستيني تكت يوهان أختو يكاي وجين خستي كيت كيت لي داك وستان يا يدت خنخوي آك خوان آني كخ سيو داك وستان كل كسيخ جاكو هشوا ساوتي وشلا آيا تكت ويت لي إخوتي يا أختو السكوخو يا تكت ويت أتك والتيكي كان ده هسوا يا أخ كيلكي ها كيلكي أقا قلك تكتو جن قل تكتو خوسا كاتي نيل هسوا دي نيل هسوا أقا أوي وقلك تكتا هيدي يخ جاكوك ساهس كاول يا كاول يس قلك أقا يتي يا شكوا يا هستو جن قا هستو كوس أيا خلقو هس أو سكو يا أسكي كيل أتشي إي جن إي خس كي هس جلتساق قا خسلتساق قلقيوي كيل كي هس يتي جاءان قا هستو جن قا هستو خوس قدزتي خوتس سجيدي كانت تسلك كيتل دوش خوس جن بوهانسو خوس جن شنكت قيدخ يا هستسو قا جاكوتات أكاد خدسو وقاق هستو خوس قوقان وليسكو أخيات كيتين ياتا يخ يخسني نوجن تات يخسن قوقان واتسخ زيسكو جنو تاوي يأوي أختوسكو هساوسكو هسقو أقوينتلي قدزتي تلجن أقوينتلي هستي خسقو كتخدسو وقاقا صادو ساقو يا إيدت شاخي دسي هيدي شغوتان و قوقان أتلون قاو قا أخو زيسكو قيخ آيات زيسكو آياتي كشياخ قو وان قنينس ودستيني يا هستسو جنو يأوي خو أخو يا شانخ دسي هستي تواوسكو جنو هساوتلوني قليد أيا قنخ قاتلان شا شكيخ أشوي شا دا يهسيتي قا قشي تواسكو قوة دس يدي دس كلين ḳukahaa دس هسا يلون وجنو قنخوي شا شكيدك كيكود تاوي تسو تاوي قوة تليان يتاوي قا جنو هستو شيدي تن خلينيت شل ودليخن جاق أختواسكو خسكو أدي دليخيه تلكنين خسكو قش هين تلأوكو هين أدخ أيا كتخت أو كاكت ستيم خكجا قشي أقاوي ياتا شش كناغا يدو ساقو أقاوي قشي سكوتا تخسوي وشنجت ششي جاق قنخجو جاق ويشخ وشينيت شش وووخ كش آن آيا أو خا يخوجي تلك وأتشوخ يخطنك قدزتي قوة قوشي تواسكو يخيتاني إخي كدخ يجي ها شينيت ششتين نجي خا يتخيني أقاوي قشلقاو يقوهي يأوه كل شي شخ إيدي سآخي يا Sashagao Ḳaajaaḳwtí ya Tliyatke Ḳaajaaḳwtí yiki ya Jinkat Tlek 100 Jinkat Cajun talk Shuhihinawa her oe Ḳutí Canis nu you do a sock hasta ani Canis nu Yad late Ḳaq inachwa killis nu Canis nu Qa Aqaya Ḳutí an Ḳakitan Has aya Llynedi a dachas yosidaq chaaku Ye awe angun aya ha in hasa kaushani wasa atbune chaaku Wanaxaya Ya Gwash yaku chaaku we Chakut yagu Chakut ani dachi ani day hasyan yasna kuch Ye awe Llingit Ḳutí Gwash yisaku Ye ani de haska kwakuch Chaan kwa yata yakwahi Ekleinach ka Asadu asaga Aujahi Gwashye Hu away Ya hasta khandik kwagu Ke has Ke kwa ich Hasta ide Adu yagu sawe Or gudach sawe ye yag Wait gudach sawe ye yagu Gudach sawe ye yagu Haska Kich dach away hayagu Kich kwan away uhan Banach sawe had ani de ya nekuch Ya naikuch Yaku ich aya hatu asagu Ya was he Yiku ich A kadigach to art Yuke chawi Ha de ha ani de Klesh has to toash go kuchu a kuchu a has to yagu Wash yadu we yan we ik Yadu we eighini Qone aya yende yan the kuch We Llatzini Qa has to we Gwash angun ku'u has to yagu de kukwagut Hini has kukwa art Aqa has to yagu aya Hasak kwashat Ke hasak kwashat Kinde aya konach kina has kina aya has our shot Yat the cutway yakikt ku'u a yikt aya ye haswati Aqa Qis aya a kanach haswu art Guksawe qis Aqa kashtiki nach yinde Yan has ausa in we yaku A dechawe kukwagut Et the cut ku'u Klesh has to toa ushku has with the tlaki Klesh has to toa ushku has to yagu Wait wait leo wait te awashi Ye awa ade wush Ya with the ne ye chaku Ye awa chosatin Ya Ḳaalḳáawu you do sa gonna we wecha Do inaya yuch achwatanen Chonnachewe au shagug klingit Shkashnig Ḳaasaakhu Ya wasa atwune chaku Data tinach sayati Ya chaltakatqa Hutsu aya we Ḳagach daki hiti tzatechwustien An kach aya yewuti Zanti kehini tu wank Gwashi saku Aqiyati Zanti kehini tu wank ani Aklein klingitaya ayewutien Ka Filipino you has to a sock Wushchuch ye haswutien Aqaya ye haswuti Flats you do a sock Ya yidat Ye awa Hesh aqiyachat wutien Khan hasakawane qa'a Qone aya qa hiti de wugu Hekasaku atisa. We Juno City aya. Yejinei. Ḳukahaa zawati. Ḳukahaa kadujahit. Kashi ane kakwati. Jagut ane day. Hekasaku wanaksawe atlain. Fu'u Tlingit ka Filipino. Ye awe ye khwaji. Adakhas Akau Satan. Ye khwaji. Aqa awe ya yidatlashhastu ane khusti. Wik agachta ki hiti. Ḳaajaaḳwtí aye. Ḳechutan. We Ḳukahaa. Ye awe ye has ausane. We're Presbyterian Church. Qaneeq hiti kwalkiwe yiduasago a Northern Light Church. A yik awe atlain Tlingit aya adaye has jiwane. We ade qadugaq aya has Ḳaajaaḳwtí Tlingit qinach atlain. We at kahini at shiki. Ye awe qone aya kwashadati has jiwane. Wasa at qone. Chak we Tlingit qagach hiti. Ye has ausane. We Presbyterian Church. Ja'an Qa'a Presbyterian Church yike has jiwane. Aqa awe ya has wutian. Akat se wakakwa sahasaya Reconciliation Board. Has to asagu which the Ḳaajaaḳwtí has to khate has hours ahi. Aqa awe Ḳukahaa dis dakhadushu yagi yawahian. Ye awe hasa yausahi ya wushkanachutu daati. Kan qagid yuqatank ye has outlayeh cha ade hanayu. Ade aya yika ye has ausane ya ha Ḥukahaa has Jagut Presbyterian ye jine chak Ḳaajaaḳwtí ye has sojian we Ḳaalḳáawu Tlingit Ḳutí aya nach wuke Ḳaajaaḳwtí qa'a ya yedat wutusukuch alta Ḳaalḳáawu aya qnach yeke. Ye awe kha'ach wita du qait qnach yeke at Ḳaajaaḳwtí we qa wushchu ish you do sagen yakda dach George Ramos you do a sag aya qaqinach wush has you awul atkin. Ye awe chak Alice Taff who owe a kaushit we on katishiti attin. Wait awe khoach du qait Tlekwan a kati sa wokakok ya yake at Tlingit ane ka qutsati at ka akak haswanechi at wasa tutla ane ka away ho click the hin away ya kak sai Dennis you do a sock do jita jausawu we cook Ḳaajaaḳwtí jitach ya hasawa set adachaya ye has ausane we at yahai away ach Ṭha du ish Ho away kwash Ḳaajaaḳwtí away du katago chak away kadujahit wasa just du tuasagu kwash katuwu auhlakeye achaway ach tuasagu yisaku du tataya Qanachawe ausaku ya hayu qatangi ya Qiyaw dahaya qutsati qa inaya yuqewatan huche ayya tatsu shit kak aya yakhat wutian shit kanaka hiti Cajun talk shuhihin adachawe shukwa aya hiti shuwa chuduatan wikahan achawe kuik yawahi akayakhat wuti gosh 2002, 2003, goshkiwe, Tleka talk shuwa kiken. Khatko Jekone aya ين خسكوين لنجد يقتنجي خساتين Ḳaajaaḳwtí يا ويتا ويناخين أيا يا أو ويتا ويتآخ يا أو هو ونوك خنخ يكأي يقتنجي أقا أوي كل كيجني نخوي أوهان كل تاكوني نخوي بشيت كقوان هو يا أوه هاين هسكاوني هاتوا وسجو يوخ وطن قد يوخ تنجي يجيت يا هاتوا وسجو يا أوه كقاق قنا خدات يتخت تن قواسا أيا يوخ قطان واسا يك قوقا أقا أوه قوقشيك أيا خهن تون أيا ديت أخلقن أقا أوي ويدو و ناشد نقي قشكي جني نخا قشقني يا أخ توخ قوتي قد خجك يتشلت كتخ يختنجي أجوي قني يا يخوقايات أدي ختنو تسلنجت يشتغل تو ويدو بتشقود خا أو تيش يدو الساق بأوه وكياشك هتتان تاتي كلبنخ أدي شدهني كي أو إقوتي أختو كي قنخوي أختو أوشك كي أقاقني يوخي وطن تلنجد خينخ جاقوي أكتخت سيوك داسا يوخ أختتانن يه أوه هستو خيط خوا هستو خيط خيقا تلنجدشت خلتون أجريخ تو يكي هستو داتا يوخ أختتاني يا يدد قلتشيش يكي خاوي وقاسا قلت لنجد خينخ يوخيتاني هل واساقوت قاد ليت قا يوخيتانجي قاون يا وشخين Okay. We talked about a lot of stuff. What was I talking about?
20 years ago, there was a kuich. He talked about the foods. Ďáḳwtí, I think you said something like that, which I think was part of what you were saying at the feast some days back. Actually, 2 days ago. Actually, no, was that 1 day ago? Yesterday?
Well, I think the later part, yeah, I was in Sitka. There was a 5-year anniversary of their tribal house, and it's probably 20 years ago. And what happened there?
Heard tiki.
Heard what?
Tiki.
Yeah, I think earlier I was saying, I think I was talking about the weather, right?
Is that what?
Your dog running out in the snow. And all
Yeah,
that.
because I want it to get cold so that when my dogs go outside, they don't track all the mud in the house.
That was me this year. Please get snow. I'm tired of the mud in the house. Yeah.
Let it be
Yeah.
cold.
I will be happy to contribute some of what is on my front lawn to you.
Oh, is it grass? Or is it snow?
No, Glade.
Oh,
Glade.
bring it down. Bring it. It's all gonna,
Gunach Glade.
it's gonna rain on it.
What does it mean?
So
That-
at some point you were talking about
Grouse
the
shit,
difference
right?
between hands and paws.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
humans have hands, but all these different animals have claws or hooves.
Well, if animals have paws and Tlingit, they still have jin and chus. I think that's interesting.
Cruz's claw.
Well, they're both paws, but if you walk on all fours,
Feet. Yeah, they call
anything
them
that walks on all fours that has paws, the front ones are still jin, the back ones are still chus. So a chus has a chus and a jin. Kate has a chus and a jin.
What does tiki mean?
Frozen.
Also, I've seen like, I swear I've seen like form line art of like bears and stuff like that standing up, like on 2 feet.
Yeah. Some bears, like there's plenty of clans that claim the bear. So some of them have it in certain stances, like the paws going in like this, or the paws coming up like this, paws disconnected. Yeah, so it did start saying, I think I said it was snowing, now it's raining, all the snow melted, it's muddy, it's complaining about it, my dogs. And then the hooved one, so I named all these hooved things, and I was talking about, I used to do this little thing to help my kids remember, where I'd do like these little hand symbols, and I would do them all in the same order, I think. And I think it went Ḳukahaa, Whatzik, Zisk. No, I think it went Zisk. I did it wrong. I think I did it with the kids. It went Zisk, Ḳukahaa, Tawe, Janwu, Whatzik, or not Whatzik, Whatzik, Janwu, Tawe. There we go. So it was, what is Zisk?
Moose.
Moose.
Ḳukahaa,
Deer.
Deer.
Here.
Whatzik.
Elk, deer, bigger.
Ibex.
Elk aren't natural to the area.
Carib? No.
Caribou.
Really?
Oh, big rack. Okay.
Well, there's caribou in
Carcross.
Carcross and
Oh, yeah.
north of there. But we borrowed that word from, because it's Metzich in Koyakan. So it doesn't, the name for it doesn't come from Tlingit. We borrowed it. And then Janwu,
Mountain goat.
The
wait.
goat.
Dull
Sheep.
sheep.
Yeah, I heard that technically aren't in the same like family, I think, of as other goats. Just they kind of evolved to basically the same as goats. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So then Gointli is the front hoof. I forgot the name of the back hoof. So I said that too. But Gointli is the, so they don't have Jin or Khus. They have Gointli and something else. So all of those hoofed animals are all like relatives. But then I started talking about hunting them,
Yeah.
and we start hunting deer and moose like in the fall, like around August. But I don't really know moose season because I don't have moose. But you can go places where they are, like they're in Cake. They're seen here, but they're not really hunted here as far as I know. And then mountain goat, I don't really know the season for that either, but I just was told that we used to hunt them around December because the snow would push them further down the mountain. But we hunted them all time. Like we hunted them in the fall and in the late fall as well. But it was just known, it was just because also their hair would get longer, and so that was better for the nachim, for the weavers. Then I transitioned to talking about Walter Sobola. And I was talking about this speech, yeah. So he was the main speaker at this house dedication thing. And 20 years ago, I was just learning Tlingit. Like if you go back to like 2003, 2004, like I could barely put sentences together. And, but I was listening to him speak, and he was such an amazing speaker and amazing human being. I was born 115 years ago on Tuesday. And so I was watching him speak, and then the workers for the Sitka tribe came out and they picked a few people to respond to him. And so they tapped me on the shoulder. I said, "We want you to respond to him." I said, "Okay." And then I got scared. But then I started to think about all these things I would say. I was like, okay, I'll say this thing. But it's all memorized phrases, right? It's just these little chunks of language, right? So interesting to think back on. And so I listened to the rest of what he said too. And then when it came time, I was brought up to the stage, and he's sitting there in the middle of the stage, wearing that same nachein, wearing that same hat, and he looks at me, and then I look past him at this row of like 5 or 6 or 7 clan leaders who were there, and what is that?
Like, I forgot all
Mine went blank. I don't know.
My mind went blank. I lost all my words. And I had all these things I had planned to say. So I went, there's a lesson for you. So I went back to the default. I was like, what is that?
I'm
Forgive
learning
me, I'm
Tlingit.
new.
I'm
Yeah,
studying
Something about
Tlingit.
forgive me.
please forgive me. I am learning Tlingit. And Herman Davis, who's a big-time clan leader for the Ţuknaxadi people, Ḳaajaaḳwtí from the platform house, he yells out, Ḵuti, like super loud. Yelled it.
You were ready.
It just calmed me down. It was such, and I just talked. And I don't remember what I said. I do remember when I got done, I thought, I didn't know I knew how to say that. So that was pretty cool. Okay, there was like, I think there was one more chunk of things that I said.
Were you talking about like, I feel like it's just something we all know about, but the Memorial Presbyterian Church, Ḳáajaaḳwtí, Northern Lights Church, the urban renewal, that movement that shut it down,
Reconciliation holds churches. Yeah.
the reconciliation reparation movement they're doing.
Yes, and so we don't, like these conversations are happening now, which is good. So there's a neighborhood in the Juneau area called the Flats. And my understanding of the Flats is that was really a Tlingit and Filipino neighborhood. Like there were a lot of families who just grew up there. And the city did something where they made everybody move out. And then and now it's not. It's a different neighborhood now, right? And it's an awkward conversation to have. But what happened is the brown people got kicked out and white people moved in. And about that time, and I don't know exactly the date, whether this was at the same time, but Walter Soboleff was a leader of a church. There were multiple churches downtown, as there are right now. And the Presbyterian church, which was running that church, shut it down. That's it.
Where was the Flats?
It is right by the federal building.
Like Copa,
Yeah, right by Copa.
coffee shop, the gym.
Oh, the gym, like the place that had didn't they have like the sandwich place next to it?
It's
Yeah,
done by the A&B Hall. That's the Flats.
yeah. So like there's,
Where?
so like, you know
That's
where,
the old Indian Village.
yeah, there's Juneau Douglas High School.
Yeah.
And then if you just started walking towards downtown, then you'd go past another school, then there's Harborview. And then when you cross the road, there's like a laundromat, you keep walking.
Yeah.
There's a state office building. And if you just took a left right there, that whole neighborhood's called the Flats.
Like down the road of where like Siongs is?
Yes.
Yes.
It's like 10th, 11th, and 12th Street.
Yes. That's called the Flats.
Now it's like one of the nicest neighborhoods.
Isn't that
It's a
the
wealthy neighborhood in June.
road to Co Park?
Yeah, Cope Park,
Yeah,
yes. That's the whole area. And that was because you had the village, which was basically where Tlingit is right now. And all those houses, like that and the Flats were all the Indian village. And even just being the Indian village is, because they made people go move out by Ţuknaxadi, and then they made them go move down to that part of town, and then they kicked them out of there.
So that place that they originally had the village is now owned by Sealaska?
It's owned by Tlingit. Sealaska owns land in downtown proper, basically.
I never realized that. That's cool.
They both have initiatives of buying all the land back. They disclose the secrets. Should have said that in Tlingit. But they also shut down his church. But then I'll give the Presbyterian Church credit because, but the credit needs to go, I think, to there's always been within, I think, the Northern Light Church a really strong contingency of Tlingit speaking people of faith. And so they translated a book of hymns into Tlingit. And you can find it on the internet. It exists. I think at some point we'll probably update the orthography just because it had wonderful speakers and translators, but maybe the way that we write it is a little bit different today, just in terms of connecting all the pieces and making sure that all the right parts are with the verb, like as we're learning about, But Walter Soloff was such an incredible and kind person. I got to know, I think the first time I ever met him when my grandpa was dying, and he came to say a prayer with our family. And then he was just so nice. I just remember like that's maybe the nicest person I ever met. I don't know why. It's just the first time I met him, it's just what I thought. And that was probably 1997. And then, and I started learning Tlingit in 1996. And I met him in 1997. And at some point, probably like 10, 15 years ago, he just sent a package to my uncle, who opened it, and it was his grandpa. So it was a picture of my great-grandfather when he was probably 20 years old. So that means the picture itself was really, really pretty old, because I think they had one of the early meetings of the Alaska Native Brotherhood. I think it was 1912 or 19. I can't remember. But they had a big meeting in Haines where they voted to sue the federal government for land claims. And my great-grandpa was there and was probably about that same age of the photo that he sent up. So, and then I was talking about Anchaketan, means the house in the middle of town. I didn't tell that story. It's not my story to tell. But the way that story ends is they still do this in Angoon. Did you catch the part about the boat?
Yeah.
Taking the boat up above tide line, avoiding rocks.
Yeah, so Tlingit welcoming protocol is a big deal. And especially because we're boat-going people, and it's not coincidental that a boat is called Yak, and two boats is called Xa, and a pot of killer whales is also called Xa, and Xa translates to pot of killer whales, fleet of canoes, and war party. So if there's more than 2 canoes coming and you weren't expecting them, you would probably be like, fighting time? You know, and we didn't fight all the time. We didn't. I really push back on that sort of stereotype. And there's another stereotype that we never laugh, or that we're always fighting, or we used to always just raid villages all the time. Like, there was way more intermarriage and trade and other stuff that was going on. I just think people like to depict indigenous peoples as very mean, which helps them to not feel so bad about taking everything from them. It's like, oh, they were just really mean, so we had to take all the land and everything. So, but anyways, there's a welcoming protocol. Even if you know who's coming, you'd usually have your leaders standing up on a hill, and they would have a runner. I think we call them Ťaujihí, which means runs to deliver information. And they would go down and they would meet these canoes and they would yell, "Gudachsawe. Where's your canoe from?" Even if everybody knows where everybody's from. This is just part of the welcoming ceremony. And they'll say, our canoe is from Cake. We're the people of Cake. And then they'd say, why are you all coming to our land? Even if if that's our land, we invited you and you showed up, don't be surprised when we say, why are you here? We all know this. Everybody already knew this. But this was just part of a ceremonial welcome. And they'd say, we want a ku'ik to take place here on your land. And then they'd say, bring your canoes ashore. But they wouldn't let them bring their canoes ashore. They would start coming towards the shore. And before that canoe could even touch bottom, any part of the land, they sent all their strong men out there to go out, grab that canoe, pick it up with everyone in it, carry it above the high tide mark, and set it down. So no one got wet, no canoes got damaged, and it just showed how much we respect each other. And I was in Angu, and they still do that. It was really fun. They did that for us while we went there. And so And then I think I brought it around to this conversation with him and Łuszczyk, which was recorded by Alice Taft. And they go back and forth on talking about quite a few different things. And then Ḳaajaaḳwtí gets on a roll. He just gets on a roll. And at one point he says this, which we might have looked at before, but now with our more sharpened translating eyes, what's that saying? There's a different meaning of Juan. And I guess you would say, may you or lest you. What does that sound like? Anything you might recognize in there?
So Ḳaalǩáawu is kind of tripping me up, but I do notice a good in there, but I don't think it's the same verb I think it is. I recognize Ḳaalikāawu pretty well.
Let's just stick with the top line.
Okay.
One line at a time.
Is "uk" like ear?
No. So this is a suffix attached to this verb.
Is the verb?
The verb root is ḳāq. Then you have the underlying K converting to a G and the W converting to a U. That is happening. So you might say, if the positive is akat yi sewakak. What is that? I said akat yi sewakak. Akat sewakak.
Lest you all something.
Swim? No, sorry.
Nope, that's okay. Now is a great time to look at the dictionary, which I noticed today. I was teaching a different class, and people were talking about how you learn Tlingit and you just get thrown into a classroom. And for some reason, I remembered that there are two different sentences in the verb dictionary about being thrown into the fire. So this one, Yitsini Khan Ganashtade Yigachtiqich. You all will be thrown alive into the fire. I'm just going to say into the fire because I don't think that really says furnace. And then, so that's under alive, which that's an interesting sample sentence because you're not going to be alive for very long, apparently. And then the other one is for throw, and I think we did some throwing verbs in here the other day because we were talking about douche zuna, the cat missile. Down to throw. So then we have an qanaltade igachtiqich. They will throw you all into the fire. We are looking for ḳāq. So we're going to go
Is it comfortable? So lest you become comfortable?
Well, we're looking for sa, ya, ḳāq, right? And this is to forget. And now we have akka and we have sa, ya, ḳāq. And let's just go back so we, like, looking at this verb, there's sa. We know what we will learn how to spot. That is a thematic prefix, which means a voice or the base of the neck. 99% of the time is going to be voice. And then we do have this, there's this negative thing here. But what is there is what we call the irialis, the sound. And then we go straight to ḳāq. That means we know it's a zero classifier. So when we come back to look this up, we're looking for sa, And the way that they write it here is they write the zero classifier as ya.
So the irrealis is the O thing from last time that you're talking about that goes with klesh.
It's in all negatives, it's in all futures, it's in all it's in here as a prohibitive, but it's not always in there for a prohibitive.
Is klesh also part of the irrealis?
No, and he does clearly say klesh here, but a lot of speakers would probably prefer to say shish. So klesh means not, right? And then shish, L high tone I L means don't. So if we were to say shish kwan akat yi sawukakuk, so klesh pushes the verb negative. Then you're going to get a couple of things. You're going to usually get a in here, and you're going to have a minus I classifier. You'll always have a minus I classifier if there's klesh in front of it. Shish, you're going to end up with a minus I classifier, but you're going to end up with this underlined K at the end. So for example, if I want you to eat it, I'm going to say eat it, whatever it is. Eat your broccoli, eat your hamburger, eat your dry fish. Cha. That's the command form for eat it. The prohibitive, don't eat it. Don't touch it. Don't go there. So the prohibitive is a complicated verb form. But if you see klesh or shish and the underline K on the verb, as far as interpreting it, you're hearing don't verb. So how would we translate that then?
Don't forget it.
Don't you all forget it.
What is kwan and kwan?
Kwan softens a command. And so it's not please. So we don't, because I don't want us to start going overly polite, but you would use it, but it is kind of that way. You would use this if you're really, because I think, when I think of its use here, I think it's almost like he's really kind of begging you not to. But the first time I ever used this with my kids, I said, what did I say? I said something like, and my daughter said, I'm not a boot. And I said, oh no,
It's like so it kind of has it, so it's like, please don't forget.
yes.
Like that kind of.
It's a very rare thing. So just keep an eye on it, but it does soften a command a bit.
But it's not like don't forget, it's like please don't forget.
Yes.
Like it matters to me that you.
It's
Yes.
important.
Yes. And right before this, he had talked about it's not a shameful thing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It was a beautiful, beautiful speech. We'll watch it maybe for Tuesday's class before we take our break next week. Okay.
Kind of like the difference between commanding and begging.
I think so, right?
Like I'm begging you not to, not don't you.
Yeah. So like he's imploring, right? Like yes, it just puts more emotion into the thing, I think.
Hmm.
And now we get ya at. That's the next thing.
So a good thing
These
It's
good
good.
things.
Is good thing. Ya shingit on Ḳaajaaḳwtí at. There's the next thing.
Are
It
people
was
The
in.
People
way of
born.
thinking.
are people existed
Are,
something?
Ţλικενάνι.
are people's land and life?
Well, shingit ani is different than shingit ani.
Oh, like the universe, kind of,
Not that big.
but like not
The
like
world.
yeah.
Shingit ani is the world.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And you're going to find that some speakers will say Llingitani Kaha on the world.
Mm.
Some speakers say Llingitani Qeigh, between the folds of the world. And then you'll hear people say Llingitani Tuqani, people that are inside of the world. I don't know. I think we knew it was round though, because we'd say there's really old songs that say Ya Nashkwatli Llingitani. The world spins around. But what's going on in the world? Ḳutzati. So here's another big hint. So we talked about this underlying K as this kind of new thing. When you have a verb, this works really well for state verbs, you throw a low tone suffix on it that works just like that relational suffix. Usually an I, sometimes a YI, sometimes a U, sometimes a WU. That turns that verb into an adjective. Yak'e, it is good. Yak'eyi'at, a good thing. So then, if you have Ḳutzati, oops, there should be
I told you to be working on
I
schoolwork.
fix. That's why you didn't get it. Okay. If you got Ḳutzati, what do you have?
Existence.
Well, if you put that, that's what it is before I put the W in there. This is a verb where the perfective is a different meaning. Ḳutzati, Ḳutzati.
To be born.
Born,
Birth.
That's right.
born things.
This thing that was born on the world. Ha'akak hasbunechiat.
Unechi is to save or save them.
Yeah, to save, to heal. It's often an S classifier, but I guess Wunech. So, and on it, the way that he described this kind of stuff is how I know what he's saying. He used to talk about this, he said, long, long time ago. So you're talking to someone who's 100 years old, just to begin with. And then he would say, long time ago, the world was very cold. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have furnaces to throw people into. We didn't have electricity, right? So just think about how difficult that is. Like living right here, or where, anywhere in Tlingit country, you go back 300 years. That's a really difficult life. But one thing that he used to say all the time is this is the language that allowed them to survive. And he would say that all the time, all the time. So he's like, please do not forget it. This wonderful thing that was born on the world, and on the world, it helped them survive. And them, in this case, is our ancestors and our ancient people. Big stuff, big, like just this one sentence. It's like such big concepts in it. We'll do one more and then we'll take a break. Maybe we've seen this one before. So this was Jukatine, Jane Smarch. She was Ḳukahaa, lived in Teslin. Beautiful speaker, wonderful human being. And this was probably one of the last things, maybe the last thing she said. Chu'uya Ḳukahaa hete yashunai at ade hayukatange kahakusi dag ijiyineye. Do we know what Chu'uya is? It's going to be an important one.
No, but I think I know what heyday is.
Oh, what's heyday?
Click.
It's imperative.
Functional?
Yeah, heyday is like in this direction.
Like, is it like within driving distance, but going towards?
Like heading this way, kind of, when you say heyday.
I recognize it from the song "Tsu Hey Day Shuka."
Yeah.
Like we will in the short future open this.
Yes. Well, you just say heyday. That's just how you talk about opening things with a hinge. Heyday is always on there. So you just say heyday shinatan with Ḳukahaa. Open the door. Heyday shinatan with Tuk. It's a box with a heavy lid that you got to lift up. So Chu'uwaya is this is a metaphorical device. It's used in public speech making, or if you need to say something and elevate it into this realm of metaphor. Chu'uwaya, the verb itself means to resemble something, right? And so you'll see this built into certain names, like so you'll say uwa will be in there. For example, there's a shark. I don't know what kind of shark it is, but it's called chich uwa, which would be chich uwaya. It looks like a porpoise. So there's this creature. It's called Ḳaalḳáawu. What do you think that might be? Ḳaalḳáawu. Ḳaalḳáawu. So your major hint is right here. People will say kanatsak, but inland they'll say Ḳaalḳáawu. They're talking about the same thing.
A groundhog?
That would be tsashk, but it's a relative.
Oh, is that?
That would be tsach. Oh wait, hitch? No.
Isn't it porcupine?
Ḳaalḳáawu. There's a song that George Hawley composed about the kanatsak. It's very cute. It's in the.
The chipmunk or a squirrel, isn't it?
It's a squirrel. It's a squirrel.
Because I remember from the
Kánatsák is-
directionals with the table.
That's right. Taught us all.
Kánatsák is a squirrel, but
So
Squirrel just ate on.
I don't think it lives here. I think it lives in the interior, because there's also no chipmunks where we're at, but there are in the interior. They're called kunaye. So Káaalṣák is how you say squirrel in the interior. There is a creature there called Káajaaḳwtí. What do you think it is?
Oh, gopher? No?
That's called
that's
such.
what I was thinking.
Has its own name.
Is it that thing? The marmot thing? Is it
Marmot?
a long squirrel?
A marmot
Grouse.
is sach.
Ermine is da, so it's not ermine.
Is it a ferret?
Grouse.
No, but we did call a ferret da'uwa.
I don't think they have prairie dogs in the interior, but just a guess.
They do have ground squirrels, which are locally called either prairie. They're called sometimes gophers, but it's an art.
It's
That one is
not
called
the chipmunk, dude.
chipmunk is kunaye.
I thought there's something that doesn't have a name already.
Thing, a mammal?
Something new.
Oh, it's out. We're always got to be ready for weasel tests.
I will cut it.
What's left? What's left?
I'm gonna look up.
Gopher, chipmunk, squirrel. What is left?
Is it an invasive species?
It is native to the area, probably a newcomer. And when you see it, you're supposed to yell, "Send fat meat, Granny." Now you know. That didn't narrow it down?
Is it a mammal?
Yes.
Right.
Evil rodent?
Weasel.
Is it brown?
Evil rodent.
Is it bigger than a bread box?
No. I think it's.
Dictionary.
They live in a house.
Long-tailed weasel.
What looks like a squirrel?
Is it spherical?
We haven't named it already.
A mink or a martin?
They got their own
Meerkat.
Xi'an
Too.
and
Chipmunk?
Ooh,
No.
like another rodent, maybe, like
The only thing I can think of is a rat.
some kind of weird beaver.
Zine.
Vole or Mouse?
Kakak.
Not a possum.
We don't have those here.
No, I didn't think so.
When you see them, they are in the air.
Flying squirrel.
Yeah.
Flying squirrels?
Ah,
Is it our
Grouse?
bat that we have?
You're gonna have to just tell us, I think.
It's a flying squirrel. It's a flying squirrel.
Oh, is that fly?
It was named. Didn't someone say it?
I said that, yeah.
When you
said
see
it was
one,
in the air.
I've never seen one in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have those inland.
I did find out from another language teacher that when you see it, you're supposed to yell, "Send fat meat, Granny."
Why is that?
Huh.
It's just a cultural. There's cultural things among the Tlingit where it's just like, when you see a killer whale, you know what you're supposed to say when you see a killer whale? You say "Ḥaajaaḳwtí, Ḥaajaaḳwtí." Then you put tobacco in the water.
Back over here.
Are they sure they weren't seeing a squirrel just jump from tree to tree and called it a flying squirrel? That's the only thing I've seen.
They exist.
I didn't know you were.
I think it's extremely rare to see one.
Wow.
Are they here?
They're in the interior, like around Carcross, Teslin, somewhere. I don't think they exist here.
Wait, is tobacco a native plant here?
Yes,
That's crazy. I don't know.
punch, but I don't know what it looks like.
What's it?
Brian Walker in Whitehorse, he cultivates wild tobacco. Okay, it's as if. What's Ḳukahaa?
No.
Ḳaajaaḳwtí.
You know,
It's a noun that comes from a verb.
Oh, I remember a verbal flying in that.
Ḳukahaa.
I know that from somewhere. Don't know where.
It blossoms.
Oh, it's a plant.
Flower?
Is it Labrador tea?
Flower.
It's a flower.
It literally.
And it's also a verb. Ḳukahaa. Ďaƙiqanáhuin.
Oh,
It's blossoming. Hete yashunaishat. This complicated. This one is you all are leading it in this direction. It's as if you all are leading flowers in this direction. Ade, so Ade and Ye are like the bookends. Ḥaajaaḳwtí. What's that?
our language, our way of life.
Our
Language and our way of life.
Yeji.
we work.
I guess y'all
You-
work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what the Ade and Ye do is it means the way. It's as if you all are leading flowers in this direction, the way you all are working on our language and our culture. It was powerful. She was such a powerful human being. We're sending, I have a friend in Teslin named Šku, and I would make a recording on my phone and I would send it to him and he would play it for her. And she would make a recording on his phone and he would send it to me. And it was very, very devastating, but also wonderful to be able to talk to her while she was making her big journey, you know. And so as she thought about this stuff, because she was an elder that the first time I met her, she had just mentioned that she didn't get a chance to talk the language anymore, not that much. And so it's really important the work that you all are doing, and people notice it. And even though you've got like these are really big conceptual sentences, and we got like 10 more of them after this one. But we'll keep coming back to this. Like these are all, they're probably all in the beginning Tlingit workbook maybe, or Hausaneh, Ḥaajaaḳwtí. There's all these like just these wonderful chunks of language that I've heard and found over the years. And I put them at the start of every single chapter in those two texts, just so we can keep coming back to them. Because you can read them when you're first starting to study Lingi, but then when you come back, you're like, whoa. And then once you get to this point, like this one, I was there when he said it. Like I just remember him saying it. And it was so powerful. It was so wonderful. And just like knowing and just seeing the way he was communicating, like his fists like together and just like, this is my prayer. Let it exist forever. Right? And just seeing that as part of this speech. And maybe we'll take a look at that speech. Maybe we'll save that for Tuesday as well. I think there's a couple of things I need to fix. Maybe we'll just go for it. Maybe we'll just look at it after our
Would Walter Solas have been alive in my lifetime?
How old are you?
19, 2004.
Yeah, he passed away like, he was 100, well,
2006 or something?
I swear I remember seeing him at one point. Like,
yeah, because I think it was about 12 years ago. He was 102, so it means he passed away, I think, 13 years ago.
because I remember I had like a field trip or something, and I think it was him that I saw. I remember there was someone giving a speech or something, but we had a field trip to this place.
Yeah, he gave this really cool talk at celebration. He'd talk at celebrations. He'd be one of the people that would open celebration to have him speak.
Yeah, it's quite a long
Is
time.
that? Oh, I was just jumping back to the last one when the odd AA is that the usage you use too when you're like say it's as if like if you saw your nephew born and you say it's as if my uncle came back or something. Is that the thing you use the odd A and the A saying?
No, that's more like the way that the verb is happening. So you're describing like you could say yak a adeyeji neiye. It's good the way you worked, right? So it's more like to describe the action, but you could say chu o ya akhakhosatin yetakhulqaini. It's like I see my uncle when I look at your face. So you could certainly say something like that. But the chu'uwaya doesn't need to be tied to this ade yeah part.
I remember something about the uncle being like the one that like teaches the kid.
Yeah, so for most, like if we go back, especially pre-contact times, when a boy becomes a young man, he would usually go to live with one of his mother's brothers. And then usually they would take a look and see like what kind of traits that young man was. Like if he looked like he was going to be a carver, he might go with one of his uncles who's a carver. And then they would finish with the boy. Okay, let's take a break, come back at 5 till. Okay, Johan. So we had a question about some recordings, and I thought it would be fun to listen to this and see what it sounds like. I wonder if they have the English on there. I haven't listened to this in a long time.
The verb forms.
Somebody repeat that and tell me what it is in English.
What are you doing?
I've said that to 3 different people in the last week. I think none of them understood it. So we need to make sure people know that ine. What are you doing? What are you working on?
ख़ुशेऔस्क.
Okay, hold on. Now we gotta try something a little different. Okay.
There's something washing.
This is fun. Okay.
for a second I thought it was like blues clothes or something like that. It's like cute bear. I don't know.
Let me get myself set up here. Okay, so we're going to listen to it, but then we're going to write down what we think we're hearing, and you folks are going to try and take turns and tell me how to spell what you're hearing. Because I suddenly forgot how to spell in Tlingit. Okay. We'll listen to it one more time.
Sean.
Shandhat. Here it is.
O O
Hmm.
S pinch.
Say S-I yeah. R-E or yeah, you say.
Mixed it up.
You say.
Do I want to do anything with this first O, maybe?
High tone.
Sorry.
High tone.
How would you know?
Pinch X.
I forgot what
It
it
was
was.
Is it ah?
Maybe we need one more lesson.
Wasn't it hot?
Probably is. Here it is one more time.
Ah.
Huh.
X underline.
Uh,
A.
Is it
Dot. O-O-S-A.
I know.
Close.
USK.
U-S.
Is it US?
Gotta be high.
S.
If it's short, it's gotta be high.
Is it S pinch?
One more letter.
Okay.
Okay.
KW.
Okay.
Characters.
Okay.
Okay, translators.
Is that like soap?
I'm washing something.
Yeah.
I'm watching.
I am washing my.
But I think it just was.
Not mine.
Soap.
I'm washing with soap.
Usa is soap.
Okay.
So soap is not in here.
I'm washing.
What do you wash on a regular basis?
My
Dishes.
hands, but that's not gin.
If gin would be in there, sik would be in there, you would just say sik for dishes. It's a kaput. For some reason, this gets its own name.
Oh, behind the ears.
Well, you would have the body part there.
There's no body.
Face.
It's not a body part.
Dishes.
It's not dishes.
Clothes.
You're just guessing.
Laundry. Oh. You mean we should do it regularly? We don't.
So the word for laundry is related to washing.
Bi-weekly.
Yeah, it's usi, which is, yeah, it's like a wash. I don't know. It just,
You're doing the washing.
yeah.
I'm washing the wash.
It takes that verb root.
Yeah.
It's an I, so. What's next?
Washing laundry.
I mean, people used to say that, got to do the washing. Do the wash.
Laundry comes from the Latin word for wash.
Yeah, so now you say do the laundry, but here it's like I am washing the laundry. That's what you're saying. They might translate it for us, hold on.
Atke.
Are they washing the laundry?
Oh, we gotta write it first.
NA.
N-A
Dot.
dot A-A-T.
I might be missing
High
something.
tone A.
I tone on the.
Na'at.
At.
Is it pitched N?
Na'at.
Oh, is it two A's?
A. Wow, your spelling is miraculously coming back. Congratulations.
Very interesting. It's like a soap opera, and now I've woken up from my coma, and I have just spotted memory.
Your amnesia is clearing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Not gay.
Matey.
Oh, you already wrote it.
There's two more words that follow it.
I forgot.
Gay. G high tone E.
Now we get the verb.
Again, please.
I think she'll say it one more time. Well, I'm gonna back it up.
By a vowel, right?
Here it comes. Whoops.
It's a tough one. Oh,
Betty. So we got an I.
this is
I.
Just I-U-S.
Does she say?
I.
Does she say
Dot.
usk or usk?
it's two E's,
E
She
usk.
said Eosk.
and then it's this.
Dot.
This is showing us we just went from Х to E.
My clothes. My.
Are you washing clothes?
Are you wash your clothes? Are you washing your clothes?
That's all it's saying. Is are you
Question mark.
clothes? Are you nobody's clothes? No, yep. So the get turns it into. You could get very technical with this, which would be, is it clothes that you're washing? Because that's look at where the get is, right? If the get came after here, you'd be like, are you washing the clothes? But
Are you washing clothes?
yeah, exactly.
Are you washing clothes?
And so that
As opposed to your hands or the dishes or something else?
right?
The ceiling.
What good ears you have.
What good ears you have.
I said really good listeners. Okay, here comes. She'll probably say it again.
So,
A. E. Again.
Oxygen. My
Gin.
hand. My hand.
ALT-IN.
Oh,
Like,
oh.
name.
Oxygen.
Tin.
The ceiling is shaking.
Oh, you're right, 'cause that's.
Man, I have terrible ears. I thought that was oxygen.
If it makes you feel any better, I didn't even realize that was there.
You could say achjin, achtin. Okay, but
Listening to too much punk music.
okay, translators, what now?
I see. I don't know.
Is that a lot of clothes?
Is that a place name? It sounds awfully similar to Atwood.
It's not Ashton.
That's what you're looking at. If I were to pull the accordion apart, that's what we got.
I mean, we could cheat.
This is it's not cheating.
No, it's a he, she, they.
Let's go.
In is to see.
It is. Let's go find.
Yeah.
Teen.
He sees it, or some person sees something.
Ah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
wait.
what's the classifier doing?
19?
So let's go down to teen.
Oh.
You guys are right on with teen.
They see them.
Right.
And what we're looking for. So
I
here's
think
teen.
you passed it.
Now what we're looking, the way that this is organized, 0 classifier, 0 with a thematic, S classifier. Oh, I should have done that different. I have to rearrange these. Okay. L classifier. This is what we're looking at. We can see it right there.
Someone is watching or looking after someone.
Yes, they're watching it. They're looking after it. That's what we've got there. Right?
When they say watching, are they talking watching like watching TV, or are they talking watching like babysit?
It's going to be
Both, isn't it?
babysitting.
Oh.
Like if you were to say, well, this is like what I would call people. You know, watch my kids.
Could I be like Achtush Satin? Watch my cat?
Yeah, it's a command form. Watch my cat. But it could also be, I am looking at it to see what it's going to do. And here comes, which is a balloon.
And it will be balloons.
A line.
It will balloon.
I'm a peaceful person, I guess. Okay. So ashtin, and just remember these are disconnected. This is just a whole set of verbs that we're going to get. right? So this is really good practice. I'm glad that we talked about this over break. Okay, maybe we'll do one more. Let's do one more.
You should put the translation on there.
Oh, geez. Without context, we don't know what the person is. Okay, here we go.
It's Latin. It's Latin.
You are watching.
It's Latin.
We gotta spell this thing.
ILAT-IN.
They are watching you.
Or perhaps you are watching someone. It is very unclear.
Yes. We need the context because that could be they are watching you. They're watching you. They're called the FBI. Okay.
Well, if we're the FBI, would it be Latin?
Well, it'd still be Ishlatin.
They're watching us all. They're watching all of us.
Yishlatin.
Oh, okay. Here.
Yishlatin.
Now we're trying. Okay, so here we already had this, right? So I do think what we end up with here is we go 0. I do think that's what that is. It could go either way. I do know that.
Okay.
So we want, and so we end, this one is they are watching them. This one is you are watching them. And what we're trying to get here, question mark, they all are watching us. What do you think?
Plus Ashlatin.
Us.
That's
Oh, no.
Latin. Latin.
Way
Wouldn't be.
Two.
Ashlatin.
Hashatin.
Oh,
Hashatin. Watch yourself. They're watching us. So here's something. There's an advanced sort of thing going on here as well. This one is ashtin. This one is itlatin. Other than changing the subject and object, what else is different about those two?
you're adding the
Whether there's a vowel and a classifier.
Classifier. So you're going to learn that sh, sa, and sh, those classifiers, only those three, sh, sa, sh, that letter A can get knocked out of it. One of the things that'll do it is You don't have to worry about it now, but just know that that's what's going on. Okay. You okay? So we got about 15 minutes left. So I want us to listen to something. And then I think we'll probably we'll fix the translation in live time. But we will, I don't know if there's a translation on here. Maybe not. We'll listen to it. And I guess maybe there isn't. We'll see. This is Ḳaalḳáawu.
Ganashish. Yechteunatic. Yistcha. Ḳaajaaḳwtí. Ḥuktí dat. 1922  Xuktí. Hudbekanarik. Aqlískurtén Ḳaalḳáawu. Xitkátachátó aqach. Ḵaalఖáawu Ḳaaqua Ḳaaqaa Ақтуакасику Ақсаайtu Яқэйвати Ḳaalḳáawu Шаан ඛаавақси Кэнахтаханч Кантикиит 1922 Tautussikuawa Hajinaqaanalhash Ḥaqqusti Hayuqatanke Yitataya Yahuan Khalqinen Yishaaqiskuqi Tsukhatawakan Daqanan Khas'ej Yahua Khalqina Akayatiya Nayat Yisilko Haskhusti Why take the Khatutino Church Hajidach Gochlahash Hakusti Yahua Khalqina Achtachankiyan Achyatke Yitato Achtu Yati Tesla Sekutke Achtu Rik Hakusti Gunashish Ye Exato Khatsa Akhua Tesling Getkosta Hastatak Khasiku Ye Astu Akhagaki Oye Ḳuti Chatsich Ḳukaaqasti Slinget
Ah,
I remember hearing Ḳukahaa in a song.
yeah. So I wrote a song and put that line in there.
Ḳaalḳáawu
Yeah.
Hey,
One.
Remember.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago, and so we recorded him. I think we did these 4 narratives, and Kathy Reddy was there. I think there were 2 different days, so this must have been day 2. Day 1, I think she was in the shot, and then she realized, she's like, I don't want to be in this, and so it's like, that's fine, you can sit, to the side. But I think she should have been in it because she always drove him around. She drove him to my classes. She drove him to this language meeting. She even, one of the last times he came to campus, he was responding to a keynote speaker who came up from Vancouver. And he couldn't hear anything at that time. So Kathy Reddy paid someone to type the speech as the person was making it and sit next to Cyril so he could read it, and then he responded to that. It was incredible.
Awesome.
Incredible. And then he talked, and he spoke in Tlingit, and he said something like, Ḳaalḳáawu, 'Káatáxwtí, 'Káajaaḳwtí. 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 ' Ḳukahaa Ḳaajaaḳwtí Yaqonet Qanai has to itchaye yuqewatan has to yuqatangi hasawasha hit kuk ayayeti. And I remember I was sitting behind Nora Dowenhauer, who's sitting next to Richard Dowenhauer. And when Cheryl was talking, she turned to Richard and she goes, "It's poetry. It's poetry." And she was so excited because he said, like, when a person speaks in public, their words are like a house post. And when their opposite gets up to respond to them and catch their words, it's like they put a roof on the house. And I was just like this stuff, it's just mind-blowing. And then the more and more you learn about Tlingit, the closer and closer you come to like really understanding what they do when they stand up and talk like that. Which is really, it's just so much fun. Because like all this hard work, all these like tables and charts and verbs and all this stuff, then it starts to click. And then you realize, like, because I remember I was in that moment and there were two of us who were there, and there were three of us, and two of us understood Tlingit. And later I turned to one of them, I was like, "Did you realize what he said? Do you realize like how incredible that was?" And that person said, "Well, I knew it was something big, but I don't know if I really understood." And so it was really neat too to just sort of get to that level, because that's a neat level as well, where you're like, okay, that was an important thing, but I'm not exactly sure, because I think learning Tlingit, your comprehension tends to go a little bit faster than your speaking. And we're all working on that. We're trying to figure that side out. I think we just need more and more speaking environments, because there's so much to how the language works that unlocks things. And some people, they don't even want to look at that stuff. It just freaks them out a little bit. But then you reach a point where your brain can't translate for itself as fast as the speaker is going, right? And then I think your Tlingit brain is like, I just want to listen. I don't want to keep telling. It's like you get these two people, and like one of them is like, "What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that?" And then I think your Tlingit brain eventually goes, like, quiet, quiet. I'm trying to focus. But then to give yourself over to being in Tlingit, where you could watch a video like that and turn the subtitles off and just like engage with it. You build your strength up to do that and your confidence. And then you reach a point where you stop, there go the balloons again, where you stop translating for yourself. Yay, balloons, yay, okay. Any thoughts or questions about any of that stuff? Those are the distractions I want to see on Zoom, not any of the stuff. We got Zoom bombed today, and it's horrible.
I have a thought that is not anything that would be immediately practical.
Okay.
But as I'm doing this, if I can read the subtitles, because, all through in a beginning Tlingit, I would do flashcards and back and forth. There's a lot that I can understand that I can't understand without the subtitles, because I don't have the exposure to the spoken language.
Right.
And I wonder how we can fix that.
Well, yeah, right, because I think it's access to more and more, at this point, it's more recordings, because
But I wonder, even if, like on Quizlet, which is where I was doing all of my stuff, if there was a way that someone with an account could, make flashcard sets, but instead of having the printed word, have someone speak it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I think you want Duolingo to
Have
get
you used
involved.
the Tlingit app? Because that has some of that.
Yeah, the one made in Yakutat has I think has some things like that.
The apps that I've found are very limited, like very limited. And I'm just trying to think, how could this be done better? Because especially with all of the speakers, some of them, when I've been with Jeff Lear, he has what I think of wrongly, and I admit this, as more of like the elder dialect, because it's everything's just smushed together. Whereas most of us learners tend to pull things apart and have, one word at a time instead of, just smush, here's your thought.
Mm-hmm.
And a way that we can practice that.
Well, we do like, so here's what we're doing in advanced Tlingit, is we're working in Elan right now. We're working with a file like this. Let me pull it up.
You showed us last class or maybe the class before.
Mm-hmm. And so we are moving into, so this is typically how we move into whole language stuff. So they would listen to something like this. And then they'd get to this one. And they would be tasked with writing it. So just like we were doing earlier, we were writing down a single verb and we're translating it. Now they're doing that for a whole language. And this is, we've worked on this for probably 7 or 8 classes, and we made it about 1/4 of the way through the recording. So we have 3 that we're going through. One that he makes these lists of words, and one where he tells this story about the flood, and then the third one where he talks about this killer whale portage. So, but as far as how to do this stuff on your own, I do think we start moving towards working on recordings. Like there's that Cyril George recording, right? Like let's say we watch it, saw the subtitles. I could give you the files and say, okay, now write it down and translate it yourself without going to watch that video. Now you've seen it, you saw it, and now can you do that and start writing down what you're hearing? And that does help, but these are all comprehension exercises too. We've got to get to.
And some of it, I think we need as much the language recognition. What is the word that this person is saying, even if I can't understand it?
Yeah.
So I have a question about Elan. I downloaded one today, but I think it was a simplified version. Is that is it useful to use that version, or do you recommend just using the full on?
I haven't used it, so I can't really speak to it. I just used the full version. And I'm not sure what the benefit is of using the simplified version myself.
It was a smaller file, so I didn't want to load up my computer.
Limited card space.
Yeah, I mean, you try it and just see if you run into. What I'm hoping is like you could try it, and you would have the option of opening that file in the larger version if that's what you chose to use. Because yeah, sometimes we don't think about that on our end too. Is if we want you to do this, the video is a certain amount of gigabytes, and so what we try to do, or what I try to do, is compress the video. So like the video on YouTube is 1080, and then I think I recorded it 10 years ago. That's what I was recording in. And some of the recordings I'm making now are 4K, maybe a little bit less. And then the one that I put onto the Elan file is like DVD quality. It's like 720, or this one I think it's 640, so it goes way down because you got to have a pretty small file, so it's 100 megabytes.
So wouldn't it be more important to carry the audio?
Well, yeah, the audio. So like the video can compress, but the audio doesn't.
They have different audios for different formats.
Yes, but once you start getting in the difference between like 1080 to 4K, you're usually still you're talking about like what, like 32-bit, 48K, however they're measuring that. So, but it's not compressing the audio; it's compressing the.
Yeah, audio doesn't take a whole bunch of space, but video definitely does.
Yeah. Beastly thing. So we could like so what I could do is I could set this thing up for you guys so you could practice with it. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. So we could, I think it's this one. So here's that video.
Yeah.
Here's the first line. So we're gonna make a few adjustments here.
Ǩanaśiśćeħattuati yayagi.
I think we started this the other, right? So what is he, what are you hearing?
Rashish.
Say tuati yagi.
Ǩanaśiśćeħattuati.
Yechat.
Tuati.
Yechat. Tuati.
Yagari.
Yayagi.
Yagi.
Yayagi.
I feel thankful this day.
So this is something, so what I'll do, okay. Nobody asked me if you have homework, but you might want some homework this week.
Please, oh,
I might
please
not
give me
want
homework.
homework, but I also feel like I need homework because if I don't have something that I'm doing, then I don't go swim in the language and then I don't get better at it.
I'm teasing, but yes, you need it. If you think you could do this in 4 hours a week, you are incorrect. And so here's what I'd like you to do. So on our, and this is, you have to familiarize yourself with Elan, but you actually don't have to. You could just listen to this and use a word processor of your choice, but you just got to drag the little play thing around a little bit. If you want to try Elan, you can. So what I will do is on our class website, tlingitlanguage.com, go to Learning Tlingit and Intermediate Tlingit. You scroll down and you'll see like there's a whole bunch of material on there. And then when it gets to today's class, so above today's class, I'm going to put some things on there and I'll start putting our classes below it. So what I'm going to put on there is this video file, this audio file, and an Elan file. And if you save them all in the same folder on your computer, when you open the Elan file, it should already be linked. And what I would like you to try and do is get to the maybe the 30-second mark. Can we do a minute? It's a 2-minute recording. Okay. See if you can get 30 seconds of it. So what does that get us up to? Yeah, maybe. If you can get to a minute, cool. And we'll just see what y'all come up with over the week. And try not to just go look at the YouTube video that has the subtitles. Well, take them off. No, I'm just kidding.
You want us to transcribe it?
Yes, write down the Tlingit, translate it.
And do you want us to just do this from an audio file?
You will have, there's an audio file, a video file, and the Elan file.
Where is it?
I will put them on our class webpage, tlingitlanguage.com, Learning Tlingit, Intermediate Tlingit.
Okay.
And it might be a little rough, like downloading Elan, right? I'll put a link to the Elan software as well on there. So I'll do all that tonight. I'll have the weekend, and then we've got a long weekend next week. So we'll see if we can maybe do the whole thing. I don't know. It'll be fun. You've already seen it, right? It's already in your mind. Just see, test yourself. It's safe. It's good. Okay, gonna cheesh.
Sheesh.
What is the Shaki app that's sitting on the table in the video?
That's the Ḳaajaaḳwtí. That's the beaver hat of the Ḳaajaaḳwtí clan. He wanted, like, his recordings, he wanted that hat to be there in front of him.
Isn't Deishitan also
I
used?
was looking at it and I was wondering if it was Ḳaajaaḳwtí, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not his clan, but
It's not a frog.
Beaver. So if you looked at the back of this tail, it's a beaver. And he's got
Kind of looks like a frog.
2 teeth. But yeah, the position of it, right? It's a little bit like it's
yeah, I didn't realize that the tail was actually like a tail and not just a random thing.
Oh.
I'm gonna sheesh.
Oh.